On a weekend morning in early summer, soft sunlight filtered through the lace curtains and spilled into the room. I couldn't help but smile at the sound of David tidying up in the backyard. As usual, he had started preparing for our weekend barbecue. The sound of the broom sweeping the old wooden deck and his occasional humming announced the pleasant start of the weekend. "Mom, I changed Lily's diaper. And I fed her milk too." Looking back from the sofa, I saw Emily proudly holding baby Lily. My heart warmed at the sight of my 9-year-old daughter cradling her sister in pink pajamas with such practiced movements beyond her years. Around Lily, Emily had carefully arranged her favorite stuffed animals, standing guard like sentries. "Thank you, Emily. You're doing such a wonderful job. You're such a caring big sister." Lily was grinning in her sister's arms. At 8 months old, she was everyone's little darling. Her chubby cheeks and deep blue eyes, just like David's, were adorably endearing to everyone who saw them. Emily, in particular, had become noticeably brighter since her sister's birth. Helping with her sister's care had become part of her daily routine. "Breakfast is ready." David's cheerful voice called from the garden. "Today's menu is special." We headed outside. On the well-maintained lawn, still fragrant with morning dew, the table and chairs were already neatly arranged. The white wooden garden furniture had just been repaired by David during last month's DIY project. Looking over, I could see his favorite pancakes cooking on the grill. The aromatic scent of coffee blended into the crisp morning air. "I added blueberries this morning. And the maple syrup is organic, sent from my parents' place," David announced proudly. Though busy as an IT security consultant at Google, he was committed to making breakfast himself every weekend. He mostly worked remotely on weekdays, prioritizing time with family. Sometimes, memories of the past cast shadows over these peaceful moments. I remember the day my divorce from Mike was finalized 2 years ago. My ex-husband, who worked as a real estate agent, was practically a workaholic who rarely made time for family. Even on holidays, it became normal for him to suddenly leave for property viewings. The divorce proceedings were more painful than I had imagined. The custody battle was particularly fierce, taking a heavy emotional toll on Emily, who was 7 at the time. I often woke up to her crying in the middle of the night. How many times had my heart ached when she asked, "Does Daddy not love me anymore?" That's when I met David. He had come to Greenwich Hospital, where I work as a nurse in the pediatric ward, to implement a new IT system. Somehow, he naturally blended into our lives. Emily, in particular, took to David right away. Baseball became their shared hobby, and they often went to Yankees games together on holidays. I believe his kindness and patience gradually helped heal my daughter's emotional wounds. A year after we married, Lily was born. The arrival of our new family member deepened our bonds even more. Emily became an ideal big sister, and David showered both girls with equal affection. Now, weekend barbecues and family lunches after Sunday church service have become our precious traditions. Lately, though, something has been worrying me. Mike, who had been out of touch for a while, suddenly started making contact again. He seems to be attempting a superficial reconciliation along with his new girlfriend, Jessica. Jessica, who works at a law firm, has been oddly eager to arrange meetings with Emily. While Emily seemed to enjoy time with her father during previous visits, I've noticed something different about her demeanor recently that concerns me. "Hey, Mom," Emily's voice brought me back to the present. "Dad's pancakes are really delicious. Even more delicious than usual." Yes, I want to cherish this happy breakfast time right now. I gently stroked my daughter's head, imprinting this warm scene in my heart: Lily's excited squeals, Emily's carefree smile, and David's gentle gaze. Our smiles around the garden table in the early summer sunshine. This is the true happiness we finally achieved after such a long journey. After breakfast, time flowed peacefully as it usually did on weekends. While putting Lily down for her nap, I watched my baby's sleeping face. Her pink, silky baby hair swayed softly above the white lace bassinet. Looking at her angelic sleeping face, my maternal instinct to protect her pulsed strongly in my chest. Emily was working on her homework in her room upstairs. The sound of her pencil and occasional muttering could be heard each time I passed by in the hallway. I could imagine her struggling earnestly with math problems. David had finished tending to the garden and was preparing for remote work in his study. The rhythmic sound of his keyboard tapping echoed through the house. I sat on the living room sofa, checking my work schedule for the following week. The pediatric ward at Greenwich Hospital would be getting busier with children suffering from allergies this season. The schedule indicated it would be particularly crowded next week. As I was taking notes while leaning against the light blue cushion, the doorbell suddenly rang. A little past 2 p.m. on Saturday. I tilted my head at the unexpected visitor. Coming. When I opened the door, a delivery person was holding a large box with the logo of an unfamiliar luxury brand. The pale pink box was decorated with an elegant gold ribbon. I recognized the logo as being from an upscale children's clothing brand that Emily particularly loved. Package for Mrs. Wilson. Please sign here for confirmation. After signing on the electronic tablet and receiving the package, it wasn't as heavy as it looked. Checking the sender, I saw it was from Jessica Parker, Mike's new girlfriend. I remembered how she had eagerly talked about wanting to become close with Emily during their recent visit. Sitting on the living room sofa, I carefully unwrapped the package. As I undid the ribbon, I felt a childlike excitement building up. Inside the box was a handwritten letter on cream-colored premium stationery. Elegant handwriting filled the page with careful letters. Dear Lily, I'm sending this with heartfelt wishes as a new member of your family. I chose it from Emily's favorite brand. Please allow us to watch over your growth. From Jessica. Beneath the letter, a soft pale pink teddy bear peeked out. Made of premium mohair fabric, it looked exceptionally pleasant to touch. Its small black eyes sparkled like real crystals. Around its neck was a gold ribbon matching the box, with a small star charm attached to the end. It was indeed a lovely, high-end stuffed animal that Emily would like. Oh, how lovely! I couldn't help but exclaim out loud. It was a thoughtful gift that showed Jessica's consideration. Recently, she had been subtly attentive during visits with Emily, preparing movie tickets for children's films or buying Emily's favorite cakes. Things with Mike also seemed to be improving gradually. Lily's room already had a white shelf installed for displaying stuffed animals. David had assembled it last month during his day off. The bear would make a lovely accent piece there. Emily, could you come down for a minute? I called up to the second floor. Soon, I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. Emily's cheeks still held a serious expression from being absorbed in her math homework. What is it, Mom? Look, Jessica sent a present for Lily. It's a teddy bear from your favorite brand. Isn't it cute? The moment Emily saw the teddy bear I held out with a smile, her expression completely changed. The color drained from her face as she stepped backward. Her eyes were wide open as if seeing something terrifying. Emily. As I stood up, feeling anxious about my daughter's sudden change, my normally active and cheerful daughter seemed like a different person, cowering in fear. It's a cute teddy bear. Let's display it in Lily's room. As I took a step forward saying this, Emily's scream-like cry interrupted me. No. Don't bring it near the baby. Emily's voice was trembling, and her hands were shaking slightly. Tears welled up in her eyes, and her whole small body seemed to be dominated by fear. Why? My voice shook with surprise. The air in the living room felt like it had frozen in an instant. Even the sunlight streaming through the windows suddenly felt cold. Because that teddy bear. Emily choked on her words. Tears streamed down her cheeks. With her small fists tightly clenched, her whole body trembling, she struggled to force out the words. 2 months ago, when I visited Daddy's house. Her voice was hoarse and broken. Her eyes seemed to hold memories too frightening to recall. I saw videos of the same teddy bear on Jessica's computer. But it wasn't a normal teddy bear. A chill ran down my spine. As a nurse, I had an instinctive bad feeling. Daddy and Jessica were talking to someone unknown. They said, "This is perfect. No one will notice," and then, Daddy told me. Emily's confession was interrupted by tears. Her trembling voice grew progressively quieter, finally becoming barely audible. If I told anyone about Lily. The moment I heard those words, something switched inside me. As a nurse and a mother, I instinctively understood the situation. Working daily with a pledge to protect children's safety, everything connected instantly. There was no hesitation. Emily, thank you for telling me. I held my trembling daughter tightly. Her small body shook in my arms. Feeling that trembling, I calmly decided on my next actions. Mama will protect you both, I promise. I took out my smartphone and immediately called the police. Then I sent a message to David. My fingers were shaking, but my voice was surprisingly steady. Emergency. Come to the living room immediately. I've called the police. Don't touch the teddy bear. I carefully returned the bear to its original box and closed the lid. I placed the box on the kitchen counter, furthest from the entrance. It needed to be preserved as evidence, with minimal handling. Emily still clung to me, trembling slightly. As I gently stroked her shoulders, I strengthened my resolve. The peaceful life we had desperately built up until now. I won't allow anyone to threaten my precious family. David burst out of his study and rushed into the living room, trying to grasp the situation. His professional instincts seemed to immediately sense the gravity of the matter. Behind him, the sound of sirens grew closer. Upstairs, Lily, awakened by the noise, began to cry. But I was unusually calm. My maternal instinct told me this was the right decision. I clearly understood what needed to be done at this moment to protect my precious daughters. While holding my daughter and waiting for the police to arrive, I quietly felt a deep anger. Anger at an unforgivable threat to my family. After the police patrol car arrived with sirens blaring, the atmosphere in the Wilson house changed dramatically. Police officers in uniform moved swiftly from the entrance to the living room. Crime scene tape was put up for preservation, and camera flashes went off taking evidence photos. A tense atmosphere enveloped the entire house. I'm Sarah Johnson. The detective stood before us. First, let's ensure the children's safety. In cases like this, perpetrators might act quickly. Under Detective Johnson's direction, Lily and Emily were moved to a separate room. Dr. Catherine Walker, a child psychology specialist, was urgently called to accompany Emily. With her warm voice and approach to understanding children's hearts, she helped ease Emily's tension. While I worried about Emily developing new trauma, she was surprisingly composed. "Mom, I'm okay. I'll tell them everything. I have to protect Lily." Seeing my daughter smile and say this, I felt my chest tighten. I could sense strength and determination beyond her 9 years. David immediately offered to assist with the investigation as an IT security expert. He began coordinating with the police technical team, leveraging his experience at Google. With this type of surveillance device, we might be able to identify the data transmission destination. By tracking wireless communication traces, we can narrow down the receiver's location. He began analyzing the teddy bear with the police technical team. Using advanced equipment like X-ray scanners and radio wave detectors, they scanned the stuffed animal's internal structure. The results confirmed our worst fears. A miniature surveillance camera was embedded in the teddy bear's eyes. It was capable of 4K high-resolution recording and even had night vision capabilities. The battery and transmitter were cleverly positioned to be completely undetectable from the outside. Furthermore, it contained a built-in microphone that could record audio and enable two-way communication. "This isn't a modified commercial product," David's expression hardened. While pointing at the 3D scan image of the internal structure displayed on the monitor, he continued his explanation. "This is a custom-made item. It requires considerable technology and funding. There are only a limited number of facilities in the world capable of manufacturing such equipment." At those words, Detective Johnson shot a sharp glance. The investigators quickly took notes. "So this suggests the likelihood of an organized crime operation. If we can identify the manufacturer, it might lead to uncovering the entire organization." Emily's testimony also confirmed the seriousness of the situation. 2 months ago, during a visit, she had accidentally seen footage on Jessica's computer screen. It showed footage of other children, captured through similar teddy bears. There were children I didn't know, footage of them sleeping. Daddy and Jessica were talking on the phone with someone while watching the footage. As I listened to Emily's testimony, I couldn't help but hold her tight. Dr. Walker carefully observed Emily's condition, making sure to take breaks at appropriate times. It was a consideration to minimize psychological trauma. The investigation proceeded rapidly. A search warrant was executed at Jessica's apartment, and her computer and smartphone were seized. Digital forensics analysis revealed shocking facts one after another. Encrypted communication records. Traces of multiple international money transfers. Emails indicating arrangements for fake passports. Records of anonymous communications using VPNs. All of these pointed to the existence of an organized kidnapping plan. The technical team worked around the clock, decrypting encrypted files one by one. "This is turning out to be a much bigger case than we imagined," Detective Johnson shared the interim report of the 48-hour investigation with us. Her expression showed conviction backed by years of experience. "Jessica Parker likely has connections to an international human trafficking organization. It seems she was using her position at the law firm to collect information about children from divorced families. They particularly targeted cases with custody disputes." My body trembled at those words. Were they targeting Lily through Emily? Just thinking about it sent chills down my spine. To think my family had been targeted by such a heinous crime. What about Mike Thompson's involvement? David asked in a low voice. His voice betrayed barely contained anger. He is also one of the accomplices. Financial records show he received substantial advance payments. Over the past 6 months, there have been suspicious deposits totaling over $500,000 through multiple accounts. The plan was meticulously detailed. Mike and Jessica had built up trust through official visits, aiming for an opportunity to eventually abduct Lily. The surveillance camera-equipped teddy bear was a tool to understand our home situation and daily patterns. According to the technical team's analysis, the transmitted data was routed through multiple servers, ultimately being consolidated on a server in a Middle Eastern country. The International Criminal Police Organization had joined the investigation, working to uncover the organization's international network. We've also identified their escape route, Detective Johnson explained while operating a tablet. The screen displayed a complex route map. They planned to move through Canada to Europe, then to the Middle East. We've already identified local collaborators. Coordination with immigration authorities is also in place. As the investigation progressed, security measures for our safety were also established. The police set up 24-hour surveillance, and schools and daycare centers were notified. Plainclothes officers were stationed at Greenwich Academy where Emily attended, monitoring for suspicious individuals. Inquiries were made with neighboring residents, establishing a community-wide watchfulness. Arrest warrants have already been issued, Detective Johnson's voice carried definite confidence. 20 years of experience was coming to life for this moment. Their movements are all under surveillance. We won't give them any chance to escape. Special units are also on standby. True to her words, the investigation team moved quickly. New evidence was gathered one after another, uncovering the network of accomplices. Stakeout teams were already positioned around Mike and Jessica. Their actions were recorded 24 hours a day by surveillance cameras and agents. Before leaving, Detective Johnson placed her hand on my shoulder. That hand carried the warmth cultivated through years of investigative work. Your daughter's courage might be the key to dismantling this organization. She's truly a remarkable child. Thanks to her testimony, we can save other potential victims. Those words brought tears to my eyes. Indeed, Emily's intuition and courage may have saved not only us but many other children. I felt renewed gratitude for the strength hidden in her small body. Upstairs, David was putting Emily and Lily to bed. While police officers patrolled around the house, I gazed at the night sky through the living room window. During the intense 48-hour investigation, my heart had been flooded with various emotions: anger, sadness, and above all, a strong determination to protect my beloved family. In the moonlit garden, early summer flowers had begun to bloom. Tomorrow, the arrests would begin. And our new battle would begin as well. It would be a battle to heal wounded hearts and strengthen our family bonds even further. The suspects are on the move. Detective Johnson's alert came at 4 a.m., before dawn. Her calm voice reached my ears as I awoke to my phone's ringtone. According to reports from the stakeout team, Mike and Jessica were attempting to flee the country earlier than planned. They had both left their respective residences in the middle of the night and were heading to John F. Kennedy International Airport. We have a complete containment strategy in place. Full coordination with the FBI, Port Authority Police, and airport security. Please don't worry. At the airport, over 50 plainclothes officers were already strategically positioned. Every possible escape route was under surveillance, from security checkpoints and departure gates to the main access roads leading to the airport. Special units were also standing by. I checked on the sleeping Emily and Lily's room, then joined David in the living room to monitor developments. As we sat unable to sleep from tension, regular situation reports came in from the police. The arrest operation turned out to be more dramatic than expected. Mike appeared at the baggage counter at 6:12 a.m. Dressed in an expensive suit with his usual confident expression, he held a first-class ticket to the Middle East. 10 minutes later, Jessica entered through a different entrance. In a beige trench coat and large sunglasses, she was clearly trying to disguise herself. The two maintained several meters' distance, pretending to be strangers. However, everything ended just before the security checkpoint. Multiple plainclothes officers moved simultaneously to apprehend them. Amid the commotion of tourists and airport staff, Mike and Jessica were handcuffed before they could resist. Officers reported that the color drained from Mike's face in an instant, while Jessica remained expressionless, as if she had resigned herself to this outcome. Several forged passports and $500,000 in cash were found in Jessica's luggage. Mike's laptop contained detailed documents about the kidnapping plan. Most shocking was the discovery of falsified documents prepared to take custody of Lily. They had even planned for another woman to enter Canada as Lily's guardian immediately after their departure. During interrogation, the full scope of the case gradually came to light. The two showed completely different reactions in separate interrogation rooms. While Thompson is maintaining his right to remain silent, Parker has already started talking. "We're getting quite specific information about the organization's operations," explained Prosecutor James Morrison, his expression grave. He outlined the charges, which would likely include attempted kidnapping, child welfare law violations, and involvement in organized crime. The case's severity had increased particularly with the revelation of connections to an international human trafficking organization. Preparations for the trial proceeded carefully. The most crucial issue was how to handle Emily's testimony. After multiple consultations with child psychology experts and lawyers, methods were discussed to minimize Emily's psychological burden. The testimony will be given from a separate room via video link. "We're taking maximum consideration for privacy and safety," Dr. Walker explained to us. On the large conference room table lay detailed plans for Emily's psychological care. Emily won't need to face the defendants directly. She can also take breaks as needed. "We'll constantly monitor her mental state and immediately halt testimony if we determine the burden is becoming too great." During the preparation period, we cherished our time as a family. David increased his work-from-home days to spend as much time as possible with us. Emily gradually regained her daily routine while attending counseling 3 times a week. Her night crying decreased, and her behavior at school improved. Then came the day of the trial. The Connecticut Supreme Court courtroom was wrapped in a solemn atmosphere. In this historic building from the 1890s, everything from the heavy mahogany furnishings to the tall columns and sunlight streaming through stained glass windows spoke to the importance of this place. The prosecution's opening statement emphasized the malicious nature of the crime. The connections to international human trafficking organizations, the meticulous planning, and above all, the fact that a biological father had attempted to endanger his own child created a heavy atmosphere in the courtroom. The jury members wore stern expressions as they viewed evidence including surveillance camera footage and communication records. However, the biggest shock in the trial came from Jessica's testimony. "I was part of a larger organization. Over the past few years, "I've been involved in at least 12 kidnappings within the United States," she began in a trembling voice. The large screen in the courtroom displayed detailed documents about the organization one after another, the worldwide human trafficking network, the financial systems supporting it, and the methods that cleverly exploited legal loopholes in various countries. Her testimony provided the FBI with new leads for investigation. The testimony lasted 3 days, revealing the organization's true nature. While the court clerk desperately took notes, Jessica continued to speak, sometimes choking up. Her testimony had led to arrests in other regions as well. Mike's defense claimed he had mental health issues. They argued that work-related stress and the emotional loss from divorce had impaired his judgment. The existence of substantial debt was also revealed and presented as a motivating factor. However, the results of the psychiatric evaluation negated these claims. The defendant possessed full judgment capabilities. In fact, his actions show evidence of extremely methodical planning, testified a prominent psychiatrist. The detailed diagnostic report submitted to the court contained thorough analyses of Mike's personality and behavioral patterns. Then came the most important testimony. Emily's testimony proved to be the turning point in the trial. Her image transmitted through video link, though small, was resolute. The entire courtroom held its breath at the sight of the 9-year-old girl in a pale blue dress, looking straight ahead. "I heard Daddy and Jessica talking about that teddy bear." On the screen, there were images of unknown children sleeping, and then, about Lily, about taking her abroad. At her testimony, the jurors' expressions visibly changed. Several female jurors had tears in their eyes. Emily's testimony lasted 2 hours. Though taking several breaks, she managed to describe her experience in her own words until the end. "When I hugged her in the separate room after her testimony, I felt truly proud of my daughter's strength." The trial lasted 2 weeks. On the final day, the verdict was delivered. The courtroom was packed with spectators. With major national media watching, the judge solemnly began speaking. "The defendant Mike Thompson is hereby sentenced to 10 years in prison." The judge's voice resonated through the courtroom. "The defendant Jessica Parker, in consideration of her cooperation with the investigation, is sentenced to 5 years in prison." Furthermore, a complete restraining order was issued against Mike, and his parental rights to Emily were fully revoked. In the verdict reasoning, the judge particularly emphasized the importance of protecting children's safety and rights. After the verdict, Detective Johnson visited us. Her expression showed a sense of accomplishment along with a new sense of mission. With this verdict, larger investigations are being set in motion. Related organizations are already being dismantled in 3 countries. Your family's courage will save many children. I nodded silently. A long battle had finally come to an end. But this was also a new beginning. From now on, we would need to overcome this experience and walk forward as a stronger family. At dusk, we sat down for dinner as a family. The table was laid with warm dishes prepared by David. Emily showed a genuinely relaxed smile for the first time in a while. Lily laughed adorably on her sister's lap. David watched over us with his usual warm gaze. Outside the window, the summer breeze gently rustled the trees. With the arrival of a new season, our lives were also beginning to turn to a new page. The family bonds that had survived this ordeal had grown stronger than ever before. One summer morning, a year after the incident, avoiding the strong western sun in the living room, we were having breakfast in the sunroom set up on the east side of our new home. In a quiet residential area of Stamford, a little distance from Greenwich. This new life in a house protected by high walls and the latest security system was approaching its 6th month. Outside the window, the dew-covered lawn sparkled in the sunlight. At the back of the garden was a small playground with swings and slides for the children. A form of love that David had assembled during his days off. "Mom, can I take pictures of Lily and me in the garden this afternoon? The roses are so beautiful," Emily asked while munching on pancakes drowned in maple syrup. She had recently become passionate about photography. Taking snapshots of daily life had become her hobby with the digital camera David gave her for Christmas. Her cloud album already contained over 1,000 photos. Moments of our new life captured through her perspective, family smiles, seasonal flowers, and sometimes even stray cats. Of course, the roses are just starting to bloom. This variety is at its best in early summer. In the flower bed David had created on weekends, roses of various colors were blooming proudly. Red, pink, yellow, white. Each color seemed to symbolize our hopes. One reason we chose this new house was this spacious garden. A space where children could play freely. And above all, an environment where safety could be ensured. Beyond the high walls, security guards contracted by the police patrolled 24 hours a day. We decided to move immediately after the trial ended. We wanted to mark a new beginning by changing everything. Although we worried about Emily's school transfer, she quickly adapted to the new environment. With the warm support of her teacher, Mrs. Brown, she had become popular in her class. The effects of twice-weekly psychological counseling were also showing steady results, with her night crying almost completely gone. "Dad, are we going to watch baseball this weekend too? Can I have a hot dog like last time?" Emily snuggled up to David affectionately. She had only started calling him Dad last month. Though it happened suddenly, I still vividly remember David's eyes welling up with joy. He had simply held Emily tightly without saying a word. "Of course. Let's take Lily this time too. I think she'll like the Yankees' new mascot character." At David's response, Emily broke into a wide smile. Lily, now 20 months old, let out a happy "yay" from her high chair. Her newly emerging vocabulary was healing the entire family. Over this year, each member of our family had changed and grown. I myself had regained confidence as a mother. The certainty that my quick decisions during that incident were correct had become a support in my daily parenting. At the hospital, I had become more sensitive to cases with possible abuse or neglect. I was also participating in creating new guidelines to protect children's safety, utilizing my experience alongside my colleagues. David had grown into an even warmer father. Although still busy with his work at Google, he prioritized family time. He increased his work-from-home days and actively took charge of dropping off and picking up the children. His office desk wall was reportedly covered with photos of the children. His colleagues called him the ultimate family man, and he had become a role model for new ways of working. Emily's changes were the most notable of all. Though her emotional wounds might not be completely healed, she was finding her own ways to overcome them. Photography as a new hobby seemed to be supporting her heart. She recently won first prize in the school essay contest with the theme, My Family. That composition expressed deep love for her new family, gained through overcoming the past. And occasionally, we heard news about the two serving their sentences. Mike continued his imprisonment in federal prison. He was receiving treatment from a psychiatrist 3 times a week and showing signs of gradual remorse. The attending psychiatrist reported that he was actively engaging in treatment for narcissistic personality disorder. While all letters to Emily were destroyed through the court, we heard he had recently reduced writing them altogether. Jessica was actively cooperating with investigations in exchange for a lighter sentence. Her testimony had led to the dismantling of related organizations in 3 countries. 16 children had been rescued and begun new lives. She was enthusiastically participating in rehabilitation programs and expressed a desire to work in victim support after her release. Her cooperation was significantly contributing to dismantling international human trafficking organizations. "Hey, why don't we take a family photo today? I think it would look really beautiful with the roses in the garden as a background," Emily suggested, holding her camera after finishing cleaning up breakfast. She had even prepared her recently purchased tripod. "Since it's your day off and Dad's here too, I want to put Lily in her new dress." "That's a lovely idea. That white dress would look perfect on Lily. Maybe I'll wear my new blouse too." Emily's self-timer captured our family in the garden. With the fragrant blooming roses in the background, David put his arm around my shoulder, and Emily held Lily up with a smile. The morning's sunlit garden sparkled like a sea of light. "This is my real family. I love them so much." Just before the shutter clicked, Emily's whispered words deeply touched my heart. At that moment, Lily clearly spoke her first words, "Love you." The camera flash went off. I deeply etched that moment in my heart. This was true happiness. A precious moment of our family, bound stronger through trials. With the arrival of a new season, we take another step forward into the future. Surely, even more happiness awaits us there.